Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jennifer Gill, and we will be talking about the rise of the purple team. So let me share my screen and we can go ahead and get started. So our agenda for today, I will give you a little bit of background on myself and our CEO, Chen Barshin. We'll talk about the status of cloud security and the purple team, which helps you realize a preemptive cybersecurity strategy in the cloud. So as I mentioned, my name is Jennifer Gill. I can now say almost 25 years of high-tech product experience in product marketing, which is a very long time. Leadership positions at many companies, including Zerto, which is where I met our CEO, Chen Barshin, who has also over 25 years of technology experience in technology leadership positions, 10 years leading successful companies, the GM of Dome9, and we're actually going to talk about that shift in cloud security in a bit, and he has over 50 patents. So thank you, Chen, for joining me today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for hosting me, and pleasure being here with everyone.
Okay. So when we look at the status of cloud security, so if we go way back to 2016, which I was actually just realizing is almost 10 years back, the cause of breaches 70% of the time was due to misconfigurations. And threat actors saw that as a way to get in the cloud. So then we see in 2017, it rises to 99%. So Chen, being at Dome9 and one of the early creators of cloud security posture management, that space, you're very familiar with this. So you want to talk a little bit about the status?
Yeah, so when we're looking in perspective and thinking about how effective all the investment in Synapse and CSPM is, early on, Gartner and other analysts basically had different ways to kind of predict the market and say majority of the incidents in the cloud will eventually be the result of misconfigurations under the shared responsibility model. Most of it won't be due to breaches of the cloud itself. It will be due to customers misconfiguring the cloud, which would be the main entry point. More or less, end of 2018, the CSPM acquisitions started to happen. And fast forward today, end of 2025, we recently saw market reports that are talking about the fact that now only 23% of cloud breaches are due to misconfigurations. So potentially, it's not because the prediction was wrong. Someone might say, here's why CNAPP were effective, because they actually reduced the impact of misconfigurations in the cloud. The actual reality is that even though these are the statistics, the same reports are talking about the fact that 80% of the organizations report that they experienced and breach in the cloud. And for me, there's the question of when we talk about an effectiveness, the idea wasn't to change the root cause, it was to prevent the breach. So, when 80% of the organizations are talking about the fact that they are breached, there's a philosophical question: was the billions invested in Synapse worth it or not? Right, and that is, to me, the kind of the biggest question. We don't see a reduction in the breaches, even though the root cause might be different, and that's, I think, probably a good segue to the next slide that talks about how the initial attack vector changed.
Right. So the CSPM and CNAPP closed the door, but then threat actors opened a window looking at identities and other ways that they could breach. And Chen mentioned previously that 80% of organizations are seeing cloud breaches. We see increases. So it's year over year, cloud breaches are increasing because it needs to be accessible so you can do your work, but you need to lock it down to keep the threat actors out. And that's the real paradox that happens in cloud security. Now, Chen, you and I have talked about identity being like we're up to 50% of breaches caused by identities. And I know you've done a lot of research in this space.
Correct. So first of all, again, this slide is taken from IBM data breach report published probably something like 2 months ago. And we can see that vulnerability exploitation is, as initial access vector, is more or less 9% out of the root cause, where 50% are IAM-based. Now, there are multiple reasons why, but I think that everyone here that deals with security will agree that a lot of the time, that is probably the vast majority of the time, that security, DevOps, and cloud people are investing in fixing and addressing, where most of the time goes is into vulnerability management, vulnerability patching, and we see that 50% of the attacks are various methods that are IAM related. So there's a mismatch between where 90% of the effort goes to how much that is actually leading to a root cause, where 50% today are results of compromised credentials, supply chains, phishing. All of those are leading to eventually IAM-based attacks. And these are harder to fix because these are, in many cases, identities that are there for a reason and are probably well authenticated, but are misbehaving. And to identify those misbehaviors, those anomalous behaviors, requires more sophisticated detection. And in many cases, it's harder to prevent ahead of time. So basically what we see, and again, we see that misconfigurations have less impact. We see that vulnerability exploitations are less and less the root cause of cloud breaches, but cloud breaches are increasing. Another thing, by the way, that pushes that matrix is the fact that generative AI is becoming accessible to the population. And with generative AI, there are a few things that can be done. One of them is more believable phishing campaigns, which leads to compromised credentials, to the ability, to basically get access, authorized access or authenticated access, and then use that in order to make lateral movement and negative impact. We also see reports that are talking about how generative AI is used in order to build campaigns. So all of that together leads to basically the fact that I think the challenge in many cases changed in cloud security today, and that's in large extent, the reason why we don't see reduction in the number of breaches. We actually see more companies experiencing a breach. Obviously, as one initial access vector was addressed and protected, they move to the next one that is now the biggest challenge.
Yeah, for sure. And then adding another layer of complexity within the cloud is there's not one role that you can say they're in charge of cloud security. It's 3 roles. So Chen, you talk to our customers more than I do. So the cloud DevOps, the SOC, and the red and blue teams, these silos cause issues in trying to achieve a secure cloud.
Correct. So when we talk with customers, it's usually, and when we talk about our platform that actually connects all these siloed domains, in many cases, I'm hearing from them a question of, so to which bucket do you fall? I mean, do you address DevOps? Do you help DevOps? Or are you a product for the SOC? Or are you a breach and attack simulation? They think about these as almost separate functions, each one of them needed, but without too much feedback loop between them and without enough context and sharing between them, where all of them are actually connected. All of them have their own challenges, but they are not really disjointed. And the way we see it, there is a relationship, but what I'm hearing from customers in many cases is that they almost think about it like distinct functions.
Yeah. Which brings us to they are not disjointed.
Correct. These functions are really not disjointed. There is a direct relationship. When we look on CNAPs, for example, CNAPs are there to reduce risk. When there is a CNAP alert fatigue, many alerts that you cannot fix, there is a need for unified vulnerability management in order to prioritize better. There is challenges of remediation time, which we know takes 3 months on average to fix a true positive CNAP finding of a vulnerability, critical or high. There are challenges in the fact that security may be responsible for the security, but the people that are actually making the decision on what to fix are actually not security people by their role. They are coming from the cloud teams. They are DevOps people in many cases with impact on development. Addressing the risk reduction is not disjointed from security, from the SOC and from the SOC. Because whatever I'm not fixing, I need to make sure that I have detections for, and I need to make sure that the SOC knows how to detect when a risk materialize, and we need to make sure that the SOC is not bombarded with alert fatigue, and we need to make sure that they know how to respond fast to these alerts, especially, and they know how to triage fast. So there is a relationship between the risks that are managed in the risk reduction to the detections and compensating controls that needs to be created and the training of the SOC. And obviously, all of that has to go through validation. And the validation is not a disjointed exercise of let's do once a year pen testing for a compliance report and fix the highs on the criticals. It needs to be a continuous process that, because the cloud environment changes all the time, that exposes true weaponized risks, helps reduce them, or help prepare the SOC and closes the loop continuously. These are not disjointed efforts, and the fact that people are thinking about it like budget lines and siloed buckets of operations do not connect the dots, and it doesn't create the feedback loop of cross-team collaboration that improves the security stance at the end.
Yeah, and I think part of that problem is that like our solution does cover all of these things. And these are the learnings that we kind of took from talking with our customers to build our platform.
Correct. So I think, when I'm looking again in perspective on the market, one lesson we took over the years was that cloud requires cloud native tools. And that's another dimension of how people think about cloud security. We can't just take tools that were built for the on-prem world and try to apply them on the cloud and hope that it will achieve the result. For example, when we started the CSPM market more than 10 years ago, we heard feedback of there's CWPP, you can use kind of the host-based security in the cloud, and that's good enough. But that wasn't true, and it took us time to educate the market that you need cloud-native security in order to deal with the challenges of the cloud. And that lesson was already learned. And everyone today uses Synapse, and we don't need to explain why you need cloud-native tools in order to deal with the cloud. But the other two domains of SOC and red teaming did not make this transition yet. When we look on how SOC operates today, a lot of it is SIEM rules-based SIEM, managed SOC. It's not adaptive and it's not learning and it's not automatic and autonomous as it should be for the dynamic cloud environment. It's still an on-prem type of static thinking where we need cloud native tools. And on the red teaming, it's even more significant. The technologies today are mostly on-prem technologies. A lot of them are agent-based. A lot of them require sample environment building so that you don't impact production environments, both from the environment itself and security controls. It doesn't cover the full environment. In many cases, they are structured, architected environments, and we know that some customers do not use in the cloud that pre-architected blueprints. And we see some ad hoc, almost shadow IT type of environments that are being built. For those, you cannot even know what are the samples that you need to build. And that causes tons of effort in order to even being able to map the risks and the controls that are supposed to protect against them. These tools just do not fit cloud environments. And the end result of it is that I think that the lessons we learned from CSPMs to CNAPP on the need for cloud native tools in order to protect the cloud, these lessons were not yet applied to the two other relevant domains, which is the detection and the validation.
Yep, for sure. And this is where we're able to kind of link those three silos with CTEM framework. I don't know if anyone here is with Gartner, but they talk about continuous threat exposure management, enables effective communication, and delivers these three things through a programmatic approach. Skyhawk actually operationalizes CTEM for the cloud. So Chen, I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the idea is basically that we provide in a single platform both the exposure management and exposure validation. We provide the threat detection and we provide the validation piece. Basically, we provide everything that is required to prioritize the risk properly, where risk cannot be remediated. We provide the detections with the ability to make sure that there are compensating security controls for detection and the validation itself. And maybe if we move to the next slide, we'll be able to show the continuous process that happens here across these three domains. It's basically a continuous process where we do continuous scanning, which helps, by the way, reduce CNAPP noise. I recommend everyone to see the announcement we made a few months ago where customers report on the Wiz noise reduction we did, basically helping them take Wiz critical and high alerts and reduce the noise by 99% as reported by customers and help them focus on the right CNAPP alerts. So that's obviously one, and that's a more effective way to deal with risk, because if you don't need to chase 99% false positives, you don't waste time, not on the security side and not on the DevOps side, and you fix the right thing. Wherever you cannot remediate, again, we prepare detections for the SOC, and we help the SOC see the scenarios ahead of time so that they are trained and they know how to identify a true positive and react to that in seconds. And all of that is powered by an autonomous red teaming, which is agentless, which is non-disruptive, runs on the full cloud environment, and covers all of that in order to make sure that all the exposures are correctly detected and prioritized, and that the SOC is ready and trained ahead of time. Again, zero effort, continuous, agentless, non-disruptive to the production. It's really an amazing AI-based technology that gives our customers huge value as they describe it to us.
Yeah, and Ken, this is gives you an overview actually of exactly what the Purple team does. So over to you.
Right. So the other nice thing about the Purple team is that it's a continuous improvement framework. Basically, we continuously discover the environment. We prioritize the environment based on business rules of what makes crown jewels. We analyze the least resistant paths to these crown jewels. We simulate attack scenarios that are specific on your environment. It's important to say it. It's not that we take pre-scripted attacks and try to run them. Basically, the AI build attacks that are specific to the customer's environment. So we build these attacks. We test the full security controls that are there and make sure that there are proper detections in the environment. And this whole process also creates adaptivity. It improves the threat detection in multiple layers, and it auto learns basically how to improve the detections to the customer. Again, it's an infinite process of self-improving adaptive detection that reduces the risk and creates a customer-specific, accurate detectors on the environment that is self-trained, self-improved. By the way, we recently got a patent on that self-improving, unsupervised improving of detections.
Okay, awesome. And then I just wanted to add, because Han mentioned the customization of the attacks and seeing, and also the fact that there can be things like shadow IT, especially in the cloud. It's really easy. So we did a webinar this year with one of our customers from IBEX, and that CISO spoke, and he said two things. He goes, one, I know we're seeing everything, even we don't feel like we're just looking under the flashlight anymore. We know we see everything in the cloud. And from a cost savings perspective, they went from spending like almost all day trying to figure out what they should be working on to get meeting every morning for about an hour, being like, this is the plan. So they basically save a full-time employee on their security team. So it's a pretty amazing product. And, we talk about the Purple team being the only way to achieve a preemptive, proactive approach to cloud security because you're able to operationalize CTEM. We have quite a bit of content on our website if you want to check out our blogs and things like that. And then really, this is what you're able to do. So in a single pane of glass, you can manage your entire cloud security exposure. So there's 9 things here. I'm not going to read all 9. So I'm going to pick out the 3 that I like. So the first, fight AI with AI. We see analysts talk about that all the time, and doing that not just from a technical security perspective, but putting the business critical layer on that as well. So there's the context of what's the security looking like and what's the business context of that risk. Operationalizing CTEM, and then also breaking the silos. So transforming security controls where everyone's kind of doing their own thing to showing everyone how they need to collaborate. And actually, I'll tell a funny story. So we were at reInvent last year, and this guy came by the booth. And he said, "What do you do?" And I explained to what he did. He said, "Okay, we have a CNAP, and I don't like it. We get all these alerts all the time." And it said, and I'm on the DevOps team, by the way, so I have to implement these things. And they're like, "Hey, there's a critical alert here." And I said, "It's on the test environment. It doesn't matter." But they're like, "Nope, the CNAP said this is critical. You need to fix it." So that's the communication that we can fix with Skyhawk. We can say, "No, it is on the test environment. It is as important. This is a road to nowhere. But hey, this medium one that maybe was not flagged gets them right down to your database that has all your employee phone numbers, social security numbers in the account numbers that we use for direct deposit. So that's the kind of granularity that we can get. So you can kind of show that. We are going to be a reInvent. I'm going to put in the chat in a second a link so you can book a meeting with us if you'd like to. And then I'm also going to put a link in there if you would like to try the product for free. We believe in the product. You can have it completely free for 30 days. So we'll provide a resource to onboard you and everything. Onboarding takes about an hour. It does not take very long at all. Kind of know, is an hour too much or would you say less?
Yes.
Less, you would say less. Okay. So less than 1 hour. And we also have a purple team assessment too. So I'm just going to go to the last slide really quick because my email's there and Chen's email is there as well. So you have a direct line to the CEO. If you want to email him and set up a meeting, he would absolutely talk to you. But I'm going to put in the chat the links to those two things. But before I do, I'm going to give Chen something to talk about. I don't know if anyone saw 60 Minutes this week. Anthropic was on. And they talked about how they identified a cyber espionage operation by a Chinese group, and they labeled them GTG 1002. And it was executed almost completely by AI. And you heard us talk about fight AI with AI. So now threat actors are using AI in this way. And it was the human involvement was like 10%, they estimated. So, Han, can you talk a little bit more about that kind of extraordinary circumstance?
Yeah, so basically, when we started the journey to create the Purple Team based platform, the idea was, and when we started this journey almost 3 years ago, we basically said, the way attackers are going to attack environments in the next years is going to change from basically people that needs expertise and knowledge to almost everyone with access to generative AI being able to build and craft attacks. And in our mind, it was more than just creating, believable phishing attacks that are eventually leading to the same initial access as before. It was actually being able to discover and build scripts and run them and use generative AI in order to actually craft attacks easily. We saw almost a year ago OpenAI talks and gives examples to how OpenAI was used in order to build such attacks. And recently, Anthropic provided a similar report on how they were able to detect it. But the key message stays that bad actors are using generative AI in order to be able to build attacks on environments and run them more easily. I think that this is part of the reasons that we're going to see more attacks at higher volume and velocity because it's going to be easier. And I think that this is exactly the reason why the only way to prepare against these types of attacks is actually to have an AI-based red team, which is exactly what we've built, that build these attacks the very same way attackers will, that are specific to an environment in order to prepare against what you're really going to face. And we start to see more and more evidence, and it will just happen more and more. And that's the uniqueness, by the way, of how we do the red team. It's part of the uniqueness is the fact that, again, it's AI-based, it's specific to the environment. We basically learn the environment and build attacks that are relevant to that environment using multiple techniques rather than trying to take pre-scripted scenarios and try to apply them to an environment, which may be relevant or not. Basically taking and training an AI on multiple thousands of TTPs and then applying them to the environment is an extremely powerful capability. It looks on the problem from the other direction compared to how breach and attack simulation is done. And it's not just testing a technique, it's testing a complete attack scenario and recipe from initial access to impact. That's a very, very powerful capability. that in our mind was the way to basically fight AI with AI, fight the AI-based risk with AI-based red teaming in order to prepare to the risks that are specific to the customer. That's the essence. That's almost like the secret sauce on why we're able to reduce CNAP noise by 99% and prepare the SOC and security controls or compensating controls that are specific to the customer's environment.
Okay, so a couple questions. So how is it priced? I should just put a slide on this because we get this almost every webinar. So it's priced by a cloud asset, and a cloud asset is something like an EC2 instance or an S3 bucket. We didn't put in the clouds that we support either. We didn't get that question, but I'll preempt it. We support Azure, Google, AWS.
AWS, of course.
Yeah, of course, since my example is EC2 instances and S3 buckets, and Kubernetes as well. So we don't have any other questions today. So Chen, thank you for joining me. Everyone, thank you for spending some time with us. And please use the links to book a meeting, book a meeting or sign up for the free trial. And please use our emails if you want to reach out and you want to learn more about Skyhawk. Chen and I are happy to meet with you. So thank you. And
Happy
thank you, Chen.
to meet with everyone and converse. It's an open invitation. Reach out.
Okay. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.